Thank you for attending today's Demonar. We apologize for the short delay in starting. 1 minute before we began, I lost my main internet connection, so we had to go to Plan B. So thank goodness that we have USB mobile internet connections. Today's Demonar is how to enhance your IBM Sametime for compliance, click to chat, and IBM buddy list management and migrations. So a special thank you to Instant Technologies for agreeing to do this Demonar today. Our presenter is Peyton McManus. And just as a reminder, we will have a question and answer session at the end of his presentation. In your GoToWebinar control panel, there is a section for typing in questions. If you have questions as you are watching the Demonar, go ahead and type in the questions so they'll be queued up for us at the end of Peyton's presentation. And then, of course, if you want to get a hold of Instant Technologies, their website's listed here below. I'll also send out an email to everyone who has attended, a link to the recording of this Demonar as well. And just a reminder, your attendance here does enter you in to win the trip to Lotus Sphere/Connect 2013 at the end of January. So good luck to everyone for that. And please share this recorded webinar with your colleagues that manage the Sametime product in your company. So without further ado, Peyton, thank you very much. I'm going to change the screen over to you. And the time is now yours.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Scott. Let me just share my monitor and just start my presentation. So right now you should see the front page of the presentation, and as Scott mentioned, we'll cover 3 areas that we see a lot of our customers focused on with their Sametime deployments. One is, the first I'll cover IAM archiving and compliance, talk a little bit about some of the tools we have to offer for doing either migration to or from Lync or migration between different directory structures. Maybe people are going from Domino to LDAP, so within your Sametime environment. And then we'll finish it up with Lotus Sametime and how we see a lot of customers leveraging Sametime for their internal help desk and for click-to-chat off of their website. So just a little bit about Instant before we dive in. So we develop social applications for enterprise, typically leveraging the enterprise IAM platform like Sametime. We've been doing that since 2002, and so we've been around for about 10 years. We have a host of applications and really focused on archiving, e-discovery, and compliance is one area. Help desk deployments and enabling using these presence platforms within Sametime for help desk enabling, and also buddy list administration and conversions. So those are the high level. Typically our customers are large Sametime enterprises, could be anywhere from 500 seats to 50,000 or 100,000 Sametime seats. Probably our sweet spot is in the 10 to 40,000 seat range, where we'll see a lot of activity, multiple Sametime servers, and Sametime is a mission critical application. So the agenda will cover archiving and compliance, where we'll talk about Integrity, which is our product that we'll install on your Sametime server and can record your server-based conversations. We'll talk a little bit about migration and about buddy list management at the server level, and then wrap it up with help desk and click to chat. So we'll dive right into the archiving and compliance area first. Integrity as a product is our archiving and compliance product for Sametime. It's been around since the Sametime 3X days, so it's been around for quite a while. And our typical business drivers for Sametime, folks need to monitor and audit their Sametime conversations for regulatory or external review. Some folks just want to capture all of the content that moves through their Sametime server at a server level. And some of our customers may need to create ethical firewalls or notify compliance officials immediately if certain rules are triggered in their conversations that are taking place between their users. Great thing about Integrity. Typically, the installation takes less than 30 minutes. So Integrity will install on your Sametime server. As we install, we're going to stage up a set of databases and all the storage systems that we're going to use there. And that typical installation is going to be less than 30 minutes. Relative to some of our competitors, it's 30 minutes versus maybe a week to get some other systems up and running. The other thing is that Integrity at its core is highly scalable. We have installations from 100 users, up to 60,000 plus, with some of those deployments having 20,000 plus concurrent conversations at a time. The other thing is from the very beginning, it's been focused on installation, scalability, and stability. Many of our customers will run Integrity with the setting in Sametime that says if the compliance add-in goes down, then the Sametime services will not become available. So the focus has been to make it incredibly stable. Of course, we support Sametime 8.5 in previous releases, and we archive a variety of the content types on the server. We have a set of action rules I'll cover, and with version 5, we support ethical firewalls. Many of our customers will also integrate with third-party compliance solutions like EMC. So just a bit about installation. We have a free evaluation of Integrity that's available on our website. The most recent version is 5.1, and it's been designed to support the 8.5 installation process with Sametime. Sametime will sometimes change some of the ways they lay some things down on the server. So our version 5 syncs up with the Sametime 8.5 server. We'll install directly on your Sametime server. What we'll actually do under the covers is we'll swap in a modified stchatlog.dll, and we'll also stage up 3 notes databases automatically and set some default security for you. After we do that, the Sametime server is restarted. Our stchatlog.dll is going to capture all of the Sametime conversations that are moving through the server, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to store all that content in this IMT chatlog database. There's also a configuration database, and there's a rules engine, so that if you want to set specific rules that may trigger certain events to take place, you can set those. So, for instance, if you want to look for specific keywords or specific participants, you can do that. The installation, within that 30 minutes, we're going to stand up the stchatlog DLL. We're going to stand up the databases, and we're going to wire up everything. So as soon as your Sametime server comes back up, all of the archiving is going to be enabled and taking place. Now, what do we capture? In the early days, we just captured basically text, and it, that was about it. Now, in the more recent versions, version 4 and now version 5, we'll also capture images. So as people send images across their Sametime windows, we'll capture those. We'll capture emoticons, we'll capture screenshots, and we'll also capture file transfers. Of course, URLs and things like that. And as I give the demonstration, I'll just show some chat conversations with some images and probably with some emoticons. So when this installs, there's no dependency on any of your Sametime users or people within your organization. They don't need to do anything. All they need to do is just have normal standard Sametime conversations, and at the server level, we're going to capture all that, and we're going to archive it. Now, your compliance folks, this is a standard notes database, so you can set up access control lists and security so that as people want to go in and review things, they can. Now, we piggyback off of the notes database structure. Since we're already on a Sametime server, the original design said we already have an NSF underneath us. Let's just use it. So we like notes database design for the security, for the storage, for the replication. It's easy to move databases around. It's easy to create new templates, and it's easy to extend it if you'd like to do that. So some of our customers will take our Integrity chat logging database, and they'll extend it. They could add custom agents or do other things. So at its core, the data storage is using a notes database. So we get to piggyback off things like full text indexing and full text search. And we're also piggybacking off of the security model. Now, the data storage is one piece. The other is that we have these things called inclusion and exclusion rules, which may determine whether you want to archive all of the conversations for everyone in your organization or just for certain groups, or whether you want to capture conversations based on keywords, people, or other attributes. So there are inclusion and exclusion filters, and then there's a rules engine. And what the rules engine does is as conversations are being moved to this database, the rules engine gets to look at those conversations and determine if they might need to be moved to an external repository. A lot of times there might be an SMTP rule that's created so that as conversations are coming in, they're automatically sent to an external, maybe email repository. Or you may want to take a look at certain keywords, and as keywords are coming across and being imported into the data storage system, you may want to alert people. So we can alert people with emails, we can flag conversations for later review, or we can automatically move conversations to an external repository, like an SMTP-based repository. And then some people will create custom notes agents to do things. Integration. So integration is always important for a lot of our customers. We will integrate with EMC Source 1 and also Legato via our connectors. So as conversations are moved into our system, we can automatically move them to an e-external. And then that e-external EMC is basically pulling from. We'll also integrate with other third-party compliance applications via SMTP. So if you want, you can just shoot all of these IAM conversations directly into your SMTP-based repository. And as I already talked about, some people use notes agents, or they customize our action rules. So we know that typically integrity is one system among a variety of systems that you may have, and integration is always important. And then before I do the demo, let me just talk about a promotion that we currently have. So we know that several of the early competitors have end-of-life or announced end-of-life for their products, like Iconics and Symantec IAM Manager. So through 2012 and into 2013, we'll offer upgrade from competitive products. Typically, that's going to involve probably just a cost that's very similar to your existing support and maintenance with, say, Symantec IAM Manager or possibly Iconics. And that also is in place for Promessa, which is now GBS and FaceTime. So competitive upgrade promotions are in place. The installation, if you'd like to give it an evaluation, is about 30 minutes. We scale from 60 to 60,000 users, and a lot of the larger financial service organizations and insurance companies are running Integrity, and they've been running it since version 3. We're now at version 5, so many of those customers have had it in place for a number of years. Let me just quickly give you just a demo of what some of that looks like. So when we install, I'll just show you the database side of it and some of the searching. When we install, we're going to install 3 databases. So here's Integrity up on an ST851 server, which is an internal server that we have. This is a very standard notes database. It's got access control and security behind it. And you can see that we have some default views. If you'd like to drill down, you can drill down. You can organize views and create those as you might want. And if a conversation might include, say, an image, let's just go ahead and just drill into that. Now, whenever we show information on the conversation, we'll, of course, show you when it started, when it finished. If the rules engine has identified any keywords that need to be tracked or flagged for later review, they're included. So here was a conversation I had with Prashant. And it's just going to include, I handed them a GoToMeeting, I handed them a URL. Then we went in, we traded a screenshot on some of the charting and reporting functionality that we have in our queue manager, just talking about some things in that conversation. And then we go ahead and we wrapped it up. So it'll give us the participants. We'll color code. We'll include screenshots. We'll also support in-way conversations, so if there were multiple parties involved, of course, we'll support that. And the nice thing, of course, is that for things like full-text indexing, so here it's, my notes database, I might search on conversations that include IBM, and immediately those results are returned. I can also use the standard full-text indexing keywords, and I might say IBM and Eric. Let's just see if any of those come in. And now that's whittled that down to 18. If I'd like to print that, We have some forms that are optimized for printing, which is typically what a lot of our customers will do. They'll go in, they'll provide a search, they'll do a search, they'll probably export that to PDF, and then they might hand that PDF to someone else. So, integrity, quick installation, scalable, uses Notes as the data store, integrates very nicely with other third-party repositories. And it's been deployed at a variety of large financial service organizations and customers. And the nice promotions are moving forward for 2012 and 2013. All right. So integrity has been sort of a mainstay with Instant for years, and it goes back to the Sametime 3X days. The other piece that we are frequently involved with involves either contact list migration, or it could involve just managing a VP user info conversion from, say, Domino directory to Active Directory or to LDAP. So let me just kind of quickly cover the buddy list migration and buddy list administration that we have for that. So the contact list migration, either if you're going from a Domino directory to LDAP or Domino at the same time to something else, the idea is that folks have spent years developing their internal social network for IM. And unlike email, where you have an address book and you have all your old messages to rely on, your contact list is your primary means of communication through IM. So for us, we want to maintain that contact list wherever possible. So if you're moving and you're switching everyone's network IDs, you probably want to do your best to maintain those contact lists so that when, after you do that transition, people log in and they still have their Sametime client with all their existing contacts. So we view that contact list as that social network for that person, and that there's value in that, and that it makes sense to maintain that, whether you're doing an internal migration between sort of a directory, or whether you might be moving from, say, Sametime to Lync. So let's just talk a little bit about the Sametime to Lync side, because we see some of that, and we see an equal number just moving from one directory structure to another directory structure internally. Many times, folks want to just do that conversion sort of in a one shot. So they want to take their VP user info. They may want to just sort of move all of the entries from their VP user info over and then stage those over into another system. So we can do that. And then we can also exist in an environment where you have both of those platforms stood up, and that you might be moving, say, 100 or 200 or 500 users a night between those platforms. That second example, which is stage migration, is a little involved because as you move people from one platform to another, you need to re-reference everyone. So if I were to move Ken from, say, Sametime to Lync, I would need to let all of Ken's contacts that still use Sametime now tell them, our software would tell them that now he's on another system. And likewise, as we move him to the other system, we need to let all those folks that are on that other system know that Ken's no longer an external user, but now he's a local internal user. So the stage migration is a little bit more involved, but we can do that, and we can also do these one-time migrations from one to another. Let me just talk a little bit about the one-time migration. What we would typically do is we would take a look at your VP user info and also your names.nsf, and we would evaluate your Sametime storage system. We would determine all the public groups that you're using. We would determine all the people that have contact lists. We would determine which private groups are used and things like that. The next is we would export in a special way all of the contact lists from your VP user info to an intermediate XML structure that we can then use on the other side of this. And then we would take those intermediate XML files and we would move them into another platform. While we're doing that, we're going to keep track of some statistics and some information on groups and users and things like that. So if you don't know it, all of your contact lists within Sametime are typically stored in your vpuserons.nsf, and they're stored in a custom byte array. And they're either stored as XML in a field 8193, or they might be stored in another structure in a field 0. So what we can do is we can essentially sort of unwrap those fields. We can inspect them. We can convert them into a nice structure. And then we can also, as we're unwrapping those, we're going to associate that user's internal email address with that user. So we're basically going to create a contact list structure that includes all of the folks on a contact list, and we're going to put a lot of additional information, typically about all the contacts and their email address. We're also going to count all of the users in the groups that you have going on there, and if you wanted to migrate public groups, which groups do people use the most? Because sometimes, you'll have everyone in an organization referencing a few groups, and then, some groups will be very slightly used. So if you wanted to migrate some groups, it might make sense to do that. We'll also do that thing. We'll also do the same thing with private groups, and we'll count references to all users. So at that point, after we kind of do some basic statistics, we'll then have the ability to export all the contact lists from your VP user info or collection of VP user infos to an intermediate XML structure that's going to allow us to move that to another system. Of course, we support private groups. We optionally support public groups if you'd like to do that. And in that XML structure that we're going to use to sort of help in this migration, instead of referencing people by their STID, we're going to convert that and reference them by an email address so that when we're resolving them against Active Directory, we can get a SIP ID or SIP URI for them. And there's just a quick sample of what the sort of an intermediate contact list might look like as we've kind of unwrapped it from VP user info and then extended it a little bit on our side. So we've baked in the email address, we've maintained their old STID, and we've also maintained all their group information. And then let's just say you were moving to Lync. On the Lync side of things, what we would do is we would have a Lync trusted application that's going to be able to communicate with the Lync contact list storage system. And it's going to take these XML files that have all this metadata about people, and then it's going to essentially move them into the Lync system and automatically stage up contact lists for each person. And if there are any issues in that staging, it'll let our tool know. And then you can go back and if you needed to course correct around some people, you could do that. So we'll identify which people have been converted, which people if there were any issues that were addressed, and we'll go ahead and stage everyone up. So, at a high level, we're using VP user info as the storage system. We're going to do some transforms so that we can maintain and then do some lookups on the AD side, and then we'll go ahead and convert them over. Now, in a lot of cases, what we'll actually do as well is customers will be moving from, say, Domino directory to Active Directory or Domino directory to another variation of an LDAP, and they need to remap all their users. Our tool essentially can do the same thing with their VP user info, and instead of exporting everyone into an XML file, what we're going to do is we're going to just remap all those users. So if you were to give us, a user mapping table, we could effectively remap all those users so that no one would lose contact lists, and we'll go ahead and reposition everyone, and then essentially hand you back a new VP user info with everyone remapped. So we're doing that quite a bit, and for a lot of folks, they find that useful just because they don't want to have all their employees have to stage up a completely new contact list just because there were some things behind the scenes that took place that the employees may or may not care about, but what they do care about is quickly contacting the people that they derive value from in the organization. So the migration at the end of that, there's some logs and there's some statistics and some other information just about how that migration or that transfer went. So contact lists, both internally and moving them to another platform, a lot of skills around VP user info, a lot of skills around the storage system on both platforms, and then a lot of information about how to essentially sort of move people and reposition folks if required. All right. Now, the last area that I'll talk about is a product that we have, which is QManager. And QManager is a little different from the last two. The sort of the previous two, integrity is archiving and compliance, which is server-based, and mostly an administrative and compliance tool. The contact list management, administrative in nature. QManager Manager is really designed to leverage your Sametime platform and that presence platform so that you can connect people in real time with other people who might help them. We originally developed Queue Manager at the request of a large pharmaceutical company, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to leverage Sametime so that they could immediately connect someone who's looking for help with an expert in the organization who could help them. And the original driver for that, if you can believe it, was a password reset. So they had that was one of their top IT issues, where they had a lot of people creating tickets requesting password resets. And what they wanted to do was provide a system so that someone that needs a password reset could essentially start a conversation with an entity on their Sametime contact list. They could request help, which is a password reset. The software would locate someone in the world that could reset their password in real time, and then that password would get reset. So the number, that was the original business driver, which is internal employees need to contact someone in real time to help them, typically an IT help desk. The other driver that we see for Queue Manager is that a lot of organizations would like to provide that same sort of service, but to external customers. It could be for folks on their website, or it could be through people on the other side of an IM gateway. Those customers could be on a mobile device. They could be accessing their website from a PC. It doesn't really matter. The only thing they know is that they might be on a website and they don't understand something, or they want to immediately chat with someone. We've all been in situations where we want to have click-to-chat. So Queue Manager provides the click-to-chat support. And a lot of customers want to extend their existing help desk by providing click-to-chat support. So for us, Sametime and these enterprise IM platforms look like a very natural way to do that. The platform, Sametime itself, already knows a lot of presence information about all the employees in the company. Most folks already have a Sametime client on their desktop, so if they want to reach out for help, Sametime looks like a pretty good way to do that. If we wanted to stage some queues on their employees' contact list, we could do that. The experts themselves are also running Sametime. So in terms of when we want to route a conversation, we know which experts are available and where we can route that. So Queue Manager basically piggybacks off the Sametime as a presence platform, and it will take inbound people looking for help, and it will route them to an available expert. Now, the nice thing is these experts might be anywhere in the world. As long as they're connected to the Sametime infrastructure, we can identify that they're online, and we can route a conversation. They could even be online on a mobile device. It doesn't really matter to us as long as we can determine presence information. Probably, our flagship deployment right now has been within IBM, so we've deployed this within IBM itself, where IBM is using that for both its internal help desk, and it's also staged to use it for some other external access. Within IBM, currently, we're taking more than 500 requests through queues a day. So those are 500 inbound help desk requests from all over the world. And we're then routing those to other experts all over the world that can immediately assist with people. And some of our customers anticipate that by the end of of their help desk traffic would be moving through a real-time IM system, Queue Manager, so that they could essentially spend the problems that they can solve easily, they'd like to solve with chat, and then the other calls they'd like to get escalated to the phone, but they'd like to move 75% of their inbound IT help desk and help desk requests through chat. Just a few concepts, and then I'll jump to a demo. So we have the idea that someone who's looking for help is called a seeker. And they may be on a web page. That seeker might be on a mobile device, or it could be an internal employee using an enterprise IM client. An expert is just someone who can provide assistance, and they may be anywhere in the world, but they're probably connected to Sametime as their presence system. Our queue, which is where we get the name Queue Manager, is going to sit in between those seekers and experts, and we're going to receive the inbound request, and then we're going to route that inbound seeker to an appropriate expert, and we're going to do that in real time. And then we optionally have an application called an interview, which is a lot like a IVR, where we can ask the seekers a set of questions, and then based on their answers, we can route them to an appropriate expert. Queue Manager 4.5, we've really focused on having a great user experience at all levels. So at the seeker level, when someone's looking for help, the web client is customized and looks great. For experts, we have a Sametime plugin that provides a lot of information about that. And for managers, we have total transparency into the queue, and I'll show you that in just a sec. We have a charting and reporting module so that managers can see all the statistics about the usage of the system and where the chats are coming from and where they're going. And then we have a nice routing engine that makes it easy to do things like identify if someone's a VIP and then automatically move them into a VIP queue or automatically escalate them. And then we also know that Queue Manager exists within a system of systems, just like Integrity, and we've designed Queue Manager from the beginning to be able to integrate with other systems like Siebel, like Remedy, like Active Directory, like ticketing systems, etc. So I'll show the web chat client, and then I'll show a real-time dashboard that allows us to have a total view of the system. At the end, the business side of the organization always cares about metrics and performance. So we have 40 charts and metrics to provide management with a lot of information about traffic and load. And for the folks that want to integrate Queue Manager with a phone system or with a ticketing system or with Active Directory or with Remedy, we have a server-based API that allows them to do that. So let me just go through and just give a quick demonstration of Queue Manager sort of in action. And so what I'll do is just shut down some of these windows. So here's my normal Sametime client. And you can see on the Sametime client that these entities are, in fact, queues. So for us, a queue is going to log into your Sametime server just like a normal entity, just like a normal person would. Now, when that queue logs in, that queue is going to have a list of experts behind the queue that it's going to know that it can route conversations to. So let me just kind of bring up someone that's looking for help, and then we'll route a conversation. So here's just a sample web page, and in this example, it's going to be an external web page. So customers might click the chat links on this so that if you had questions, you could do something like that and click a questions, and then something's going to come down, and they could chat with sales or they could chat with support. You might also stage something so that at the bottom of the page, you might provide expert availability directly from something like this. So let me just go in here. I'll go ahead and I'll spin up a conversation with a queue. Now what's going to take place is that it's going to log in. I'm just going to ask a question. And then what's going to take place is on the server side, it's going to send me a message. Now I'm going to play both sides of this, and it's going to tell me that I'm now connected with a web visitor. So on one side, the web visitor is looking for help, and on the other side, Sametime has notified me that someone is looking for help, and I'm going to connect with them. Now I can do things like automatically send back a reply, and what's going to take place is it's going to transfer. So let's just say, does Queue Manager support mobile devices? And then what's going to, so now I'm having a very standard Sametime conversation. As an expert, I can have multiple conversations at once. So if there were 3 people out on the website, I can have 3 separate conversations with them. I'm using my standard Sametime client, although we have a plugin that's extended it, and that plugin has provided an extra panel down here. Now, some of the nice things here, my standard Sametime client has spell checking. So if I try to enter some text that's misspelled, Sametime's going to trap it. I can use canned replies like I did right here so that I can have server-based replies. And let me just send out a reply that's sort of canned. And this is how to add a link for Queue Manager to your website. So as we're having this conversation, the expert's using their Sametime client. The person that's looking for help is just on their website, and they don't know what's taking place behind the scenes. We also have the ability to invite another expert into the conversation. So a lot of our customers, the first level folks that are taking the requests may or may not have all the technical information to answer the question. So if they'd like, they could invite another expert into the conversation, or they could invite anyone from the organization into the conversation that's currently running the Sametime client. So here, I could invite Zach into the conversation. Even though Zach's not part of the queue, I could, as an expert, invite him in, and he could help answer questions for me. And a lot of our customers will use that because then it's exposing not only the experts, but the experts then have an opportunity to invite anyone in the organization into the conversation. We also have a ticketing panel so that the experts have a ticketing panel down here so that they have information about the visitor. Some of them might automatically want to create a ticket directly from this bottom panel, and then whatever other information they may want to pass through about this person on the website that's looking for help, they can pass that through. So, person on the website's looking for help, they come in, the expert's using the Sametime client, and they're going to pick that conversation up. Let me just show a little bit about what that management panel would look like. So now I'm going to sort of put myself in the position of a manager who might be just monitoring this queue. So for folks who are monitoring the queue, the main thing that they want to do is they want to have total transparency into the queue. So they'd like to see the number of people waiting and the number of people connected and how long people have been waiting for help. So our dashboard application provides information on all of the queues that you would have running, and as a manager, I can drill and I can see that within the sales queue there's one person connected, no one's waiting, and I can click on this and I can see the question that the person has, which is, I have a question about Queue Manager. If we applied a meta tag to that person, the amount of time they were waiting on the website for help, and who they're currently connected with, and how long they've been connected. So this dashboard tries to provide all of the information that a managers or line of business folks would need to see about the queues and about load balancing. You can also see that we have something here called a meta tag. And what a lot of our customers want to do is, as users are coming in from the website, they might want to assign that user a meta tag. And that meta tag could be something like that the customer's a VIP, or it could be something geographic. So here, we've just applied a geographic area to it, but you could also do things like a VIP, and then they would automatically get routed to experts who typically deal with VIPs. In addition to the monitoring panel, we have a measurements and reporting system. So in the first generation of Queue Manager, there really wasn't a dashboard so that you could see who was looking for help and who was waiting, and there wasn't really an idea of tracking all of the metrics. Now we know customers need to not only be able to connect people, but they need to be able to monitor the system, and then they need to be able to go back and historically look at traffic. So we have a measurements and reporting system as part of Queue Manager that can deliver a whole bunch of information about the system. So here, it's showing the queue conversations for today within a certain help desk queue, and then we can go and we can drill down and we can see which experts are picking up those conversations and where those conversations are going. We can also show things like average wait time. We can show which agents are picking up conversations. So here we're going to drill out, and just for today, we can show which agents are picking up conversation. And we can show all sorts of things that you would expect to see on sort of a phone system. We'll show the similar thing on this queuing system. So let me just drill down. Now, our metrics and charting and reporting system also supports full drill down. So I can drill down and I can see all of the conversations that this queue has had for, say, a year, and then I can drill into a per month level, and I can drill all the way down into a per day level so that I could see, okay, why did my traffic spike on that day? What took place there? And I can drill down and I can have that broken out into 15-minute increments. So the measurements and reporting system's designed so that the sort of high-level managers can quickly get at information that they would want to get at relative to the queue and relative to the help desk system. Let me just show one other thing. So here's another example of a portal. So let me just flip back and just sort of transition. So let's just say that there are external users coming in off of a mobile device or off of a website. There's a click-to-chat web client that will transition that information into our queue system, and then we'll notify the experts that someone's waiting. Now, let's say that there was an internal portal that you've developed and that you'd like to provide the same functionality. So probably half of our deployments are positioned for internal systems. And so for an internal portal, you can do the same thing. The advantage on an internal portal is you already know the user that's authenticated into that portal, and you have the opportunity to either raise a web client or to bring forward a Sametime client. So in this example, when I click on open a ticket, if a web client was available, it would open that, or it would open a Sametime client. So here, as I clicked on that, it automatically raised the Sametime client and entered me into a queue. So the portal and implementation can determine if the Sametime client's running, at which point it can automatically start a conversation with that queue, or if the Sametime client's not running, it'll automatically fall back and it'll just create a conversation with the web client. I think this is going to automatically create a conversation with the web client. Oops. So in that case, Zach was identified and is there to help. So sort of the split side of that is deployment with inside an organization and deployment for external folks looking for help. In both cases, they can come in. The conversations are going to be moved to an appropriate queue, and then all of the information is going to be tracked and it's going to be recorded. Just kind of quickly show you a little bit about the queue setup itself. So here are the queue definitions themselves. This is a queue definition. And a queue definition is basically going to include a bunch of information about the name of the queue. It's going to include some information about which Sametime entity is going to log in here. And then it could also include some information about which experts, and then how we should broadcast these inbound requests as they're coming in. If you'd like to include standard replies, those are there. And we can also have some security and things like that around queues. Just real quickly, one more thing that some folks will deploy is what we call an interview. And I'll just show an interview from the perspective of someone hitting it from a Sametime client. So queues themselves might be deployed on a web page. They might be deployed, let's say, on an old Sametime client. Here's an old Sametime client. Or they could be deployed on a new Sametime client. So let me just hit, this is an older Sametime client that's hitting what we call an interview. And an interview is going to be decision support tree that's going to ask the user a set of questions. And then based on those answers, we're going to move that person to an appropriate queue. So you can see that they have some options. Welcome to this queue. Would you like to have a conversation with a brand specialist? Would you like to search this knowledge base? Or would you like to receive an email update on an existing service request? I'll hit that same thing from a newer client. You can see it's exactly the same. And then based on these answers, we might move them to a queue. Like here, we would move them to a system I queue. Or if they wanted to search the knowledge base, we would ask them for some text that they would want to search. We would come and provide some answers, and then we would automatically send back some results to them. They may also want to receive some information on a ticket that they posted earlier. So Queue Manager itself supports the click-to-chat functionality both internally and externally. We add some facilities for experts to receive information on new requests as they're coming in, and those experts have an embedded plugin that gives them information on the user that's looking for help. The charting and reporting system provides full information on all of the traffic that moved through the system, and the management dashboard shows real-time activity of all the queues that are taking place. And probably the only thing I didn't talk about, and just 1 second on it, at the server level, the queue server itself has a whole set of events and some other things so that it can integrate with other systems. And an example of that would be, say, an authenticated web portal where you know information about the person who's on your website. As they click to chat for help, the queue server would grab that request, and we might want to look up information about that person in another system. So at the server level, our server would raise an event. There would be some code that would catch that event, and then we would look up in another system, like a CRM system, a whole bunch of information about this person, and then apply it to them so that when we move that to the expert knows maybe their account status, maybe their geography, maybe some other information about them that helps that expert deal with the person that's coming in. So at the server level, it's been designed for integration, and many of our customers take advantage of that integration to integrate queue management with their phone system and with their CRM system, and with things like Siebel and Remedy and things like that. So that's tried to cover a lot of territory on the archiving and compliance, some information on the migration, and then some information about how to use Sametime to enable click-to-chat support for either internal users or external users on your system. And that's what the last product, Queue Manager, has been designed for from the beginning, and it's now in our version 4 with full support for management dashboard and monitoring and support. And the goal is to build it out without any programming on your side, but if you'd like to extend it, you can. So, hey, Scott, I know I kind of covered some territory, but I'd love to take any questions if anyone has any questions.
Absolutely. We already have questions queued up for you. Thank you very much. So if you do have questions, now's the time to go ahead and start typing them in for us, and they'll be queued up and ready as we go through the questions here. All right, the first question, does or will the product consolidate reporting and archiving on Sametime Advanced, both chat rooms and broadcast, as well as Sametime meetings chat content? Okay, so that's a really long question. Okay, so does it or will the product consolidate reporting and archiving on Sametime Advanced, as well as the Sametime meetings chat content? So
that's a great question. So right now, the Sametime server, right now Integrity is designed for the Sametime community server, and the Sametime community server has a real specific way of integrating the compliance framework. We're building out that compliance framework right now to support Sametime meetings. So the Sametime meetings work is underway, and we have a fairly generic way of integrating. We call it our compliance framework, but it'll add support for Sametime meetings right now. We're looking to see if there's demand for Sametime Advanced. We've had some folks that have asked for the Sametime Advanced support as well. We're definitely going to provide the Sametime meeting support. That will probably be available within before the end of the year, and that will essentially have a small connector that you'll install on your Sametime meeting server. It'll capture the content that takes place during the discussion on Sametime meetings, and then we'll be able to consolidate all of that information from Sametime meetings and your Sametime server and possibly Sametime Advanced. So if you have a request for Sametime Advanced, definitely just let us know, and we can include you in on that. The Sametime meetings work is definitely underway and will be available before the end of the year.
excellent.
Okay.
All right, next question. I'm assuming the chat log database can be a replica to encompass reporting and logging of multiple Sametime community servers with clustering support. True?
Correct. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great question. So within my presentation, there were some other areas back in there that talk about multi-server architecture, and that you can create a replica, and then you can sort of design how you'd like that to replicate. But when you install Integrity as part of the installation process, you can tell us that you're in a multi-server environment, and you can automatically create a replica. So that database can be a replica, and you can have multiple replicas of that database out there. And then it can essentially do the standard things that Notes is great at doing, which is replicating data, moving it around, keeping it secure, searching it, all those things. So we fully support multi-server architecture with replica databases.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
There was a question about compatibility with Windows servers, 32-bit, 64-bit. Maybe just kind of briefly touch on that. Does it support the Windows 2008, 2000, well, wherever we're at now?
It sure does. So Integrity itself will support the different variations of sort of the Windows servers. Integrity, so our Sametime archiving product, does leverage some things that are included as part of Windows. So Integrity does not support deployments against the Sametime server that's, say, on Linux. Our Queue Manager product does support Linux, so we have Queue Manager running on some different variations of Linux against Linux servers that are Sametime, but Integrity itself will run against essentially any version of Windows and supports Windows Sametime server deployments.
Okay, perfect. This question comes back to kind of separating the products. We saw a little bit of the Queue Manager, but how much was actually just Sametime, and what could they actually do without the Queue Manager?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the piece that's Sametime is essentially we're using Sametime as the transport protocol, and we're also using Sametime as the present stack. So we're using Sametime. You can imagine that we're using Sametime to have a queue, and the queue essentially has almost like a buddy list itself, and we're using Sametime to give us awareness of the experts, and then we're using Sametime to manage the IAM traffic. So as we're brokering a conversation between a person looking for help and an expert, the queue is sitting in the middle there, and the queue is having conversations with both parties. And the queue is sitting in the middle so that we can capture all the traffic going back and forth. If we need to transfer that to someone else, we can transfer it, and so that at the end of that conversation, we can log it all. So, like with anything, it would be possible to build up, some representation of this probably yourself. If you do that, you're probably going to end up with a similar design where you have the Queue Manager sitting in the middle brokering those conversations. You're probably going to want to record information on traffic and on usage, and you're probably going to want to have some sort of dashboards that you can see how many people are waiting for help and who's waiting for help and things like that. So you could use a lot of the same pieces we've used for Sametime here, and for our part, the value is in the configuration, so no programming, in the real-time dashboard, in the logging of all the chat conversations, and in the metrics. So, probably basically, and in the web client. So we've also built out a web client and some other things. But so we're using Sametime for transport and for presence, and then everything else we're basically managing ourselves. And under the covers, we're a Java Spring app, and we sit on an Apache server at Tomcat with a set of web services and other APIs if you want to integrate with your phone system or with Remedy or with other things.
All right, perfect. Great. That was great. Great answer to that question. Are there any exports or conduits to convert chat threads to activity logs within CRM applications?
So I would think that would be on the Queue Manager side, assuming that you'd want to take some conversations that we would capture on Queue Manager, and you might want to move those into say and mount those against include them in a Remedy conversation thread. So
Yes.
We've had customers that will do that, and typically there are two ways that you would do that. Is what we'll do is we'll maintain a unique ID for each chat conversation that we take part in. We'll create a unique ID. We're also going to store that conversation on the back end into a notes database that then some people might take and integrate in with their say, CRM system. So we'll have folks that will take the conversation history that we have, and as long as we have some way to associate it with that CRM system, let's say that when it came in, like we have a customer right now, the request comes into the Queue Manager, we automatically create a Siebel ticket as soon as the request comes in. So the request comes in, we create a Siebel ticket right away. At the end of that request, we take all of that information and then we attach it to the Siebel ticket that we created in the beginning with the full thread, so that whoever has that ticket now can see everything that was included in the conversation.
All right, perfect. What about ethical firewalls? Do you support or provide something for that?
Yeah, great question. So Integrity prior to version 5, we didn't support ethical firewalls. And what an ethical firewall is within an organization, you may want to create essentially a barrier so that folks within different departments, maybe it's analysts and traders, might not have the ability to create IAM conversations with each other. So an ethical firewall will sit there and essentially monitor as all these same-time conversations are being created, and it'll determine if that conversation is essentially allowed to happen or not. So with version 5, we support ethical firewalls. It was a fairly significant amount of work on our side because that means we have to monitor the session initiation in real time and then determine if those IAM sessions should be allowed to continue or not. So we do support ethical firewalls. It's new with version 5. It was a fairly significant effort to do that. The configuration is very easy. You can determine which public groups or which groups can or cannot communicate with each other, and then if those folks try to have a conversation, we'll intercept it and let them know that that there's a firewall in place. And just one more note on that. In addition to ethical firewalls, a lot of times folks will also want notifications so that when people log into Sametime, they'll be notified that there may be archiving software on the server. That's especially important in, say, in Europe. So we also have a notification module that will let people know either when they log into Sametime that archiving software is present on the server and their conversations may be recorded. And new with version 5, this latest release of Integrity, we can also notify them as they're starting an IAM conversation, so that each time they have a conversation, we'll let them know, by the way, there's archiving server software in place. And that's, you can turn that on or you cannot. It's totally up to you. A lot of our customers in Europe have requested that, so it's primarily provided so that folks can let internal employees know, and possibly people over at Gateway know that there's archiving software in place.
Perfect.
What else, Scott?
Yeah, I think that's the end of the questions that we have set up. We're actually right at our hour mark as well, so we've done quite well here with a nice presentation. A lot of good questions. Just a reminder to everyone: if you do have questions that you didn't ask or would like to know more, you can certainly contact them, and their contact information will come out in the email that will follow up with the recorded session. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. Peyton, especially thank you to you, and thank you to all attendees. Peyton, I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds, and then we'll go from there.
Well, first, Scott, I'd like to thank you. I think you've done a great job in organizing this, and it's just been a pleasure working with you, and that's been great. And then thank you to everyone that's spent the hour with us. We've been doing this for 10 years plus. We're incredibly focused on Sametime, and we have a lot of customers' experience and knowledge in the area, and appreciate the great questions and people taking the time to spend an hour with us.
Great. Thank you again, Peyton, and thank you again. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and if you saw anything that was interesting, reach out to us, let us know, and we'd enjoy working with you. And even if you just have some questions you'd like answered, be more than happy to answer anything, and look forward to working with you.
Excellent. Great. Again, thank you, Peyton. Thank you, everyone attending. Have a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll see all of us at Connect/Lotusphere 2013. Have a great day, guys.
Excellent. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.